Good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight with Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story, calls for transparency after a woman discovers her twin brothers were buried in a mass grave in Oldham decades ago.
It's devastated her and it's devastated this town. People were lied to.
Now there are calls for a memorial to mark their resting place, also tonight. A civil judge rules a wealthy heiress from Greater Manchester was killed by her husband after being found dead in a holiday swimming pool. Preston's Radio 2 in the Park is about to start with 70,000 music fans expected for the three-day event.
And I'm here at Media City, where the Lowry is basking in the evening sunshine. It's here where the Make a Difference Awards are taking place tonight. I'll tell you a little bit about those later. And of course, I'll bring you the full forecast.
There are calls today for a memorial and more transparency over where stillborn babies were buried decades ago after a mass grave containing the bodies of almost 300 babies and young children was uncovered in Oldham. One of our viewers who began a search for the final resting place of her twin brothers ended up finding them in the mass grave this week. Well, our reporter Suzanne Haley has told the stories of many bereaved mothers whose stillborn babies were taken from them before they'd had a chance to say goodbye. Well, Suzanne is here now.
Yes, and it's 2 years since our special week-long series on stillbirth was first broadcast. During that week, we received an unprecedented number of messages from hundreds of bereaved parents and families, all hoping to find the graves of their stillborn babies. Many who watched and made contact went on to find their baby's final resting place. It began with Lillian Thorpe from Staley Bridge. She found the grave of her stillborn baby boy after 6 decades. With the help of Tameside's bereavement manager, we were able to find an entry for Lillian's son and show her at last where he'd been buried. We also heard from Julie Farrington from Hollingworth. In 1979, she too gave birth to a stillborn baby almost 20 years after Lillian. For the first 4 years after his stillbirth, Julie believed her baby had been incinerated as medical waste. The reality was he'd been buried just a few miles from where she lived. Among those watching was Gina Jacobs from Wirral. She says it was those stories that gave her the courage to look for her own baby boy, Robert, who she went on to find at Landicant Cemetery. Gina, who we'll hear from more from shortly, has since gone on to help others. This week, another family who watched this story unfold here has finally found the resting place of their siblings, a set of twin boys. And since then, more families have found their stillborn babies there too. My colleague Phil McCann has spent the day at Royton Cemetery in Oldham, where they were found.
After 48 years, Gillian finally knows where her sister is. This is the first time she's visited her grave.
We've always talked about her, even though she was born after me and she was a stillborn baby. We have always talked about her. I suppose if we didn't talk about her, we wouldn't be that bothered, but because we have talked about her and now I know she could be here, that's a massive difference.
Joanne has found her uncle.
My uncle Joseph, our Joey, Joseph Morris, was born 1960. My family have been searching for him for years and years. They finally got some answers now. My family have been upset for years, not knowing where he is. My auntie was very upset, and mum's and the sisters, they were all upset yesterday. It's very bittersweet, isn't it?
But Joey is one of 273 babies and young children buried in one mass grave underneath this patch of grass at Royton Cemetery. There are 29 adults too, thought to have been given what were known as paupers' funerals. This grave was discovered after a North West Tonight viewer saw how Gina Jacobs here from Wirral successfully found her stillborn son. She tried to find her twin brothers and enlisted the help of Maggie, a local councillor in Royton. They'd searched the normal burial records to find the boys, but ended up having to physically go to cemeteries, where they were found in a large hard-backed book. But then they made a discovery.
When we looked at Grave 360, we realised this was a mass grave. It wasn't just her brothers in here. There was others in here. This has devastated me. It's devastated her.
and it's devastated this town. People were lied to, and for the last, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, they could have had a place where they came.
As well as the site in the Church of England section, I'm told other mass graves have been discovered by families doing research. One in the non-conformist area of the cemetery, the other in the Catholic section. Mass graves like this are not specific to Oldham, but now there are calls for the burial records for those buried in them to be just as accessible as other burial records.
This is not good enough. You need to know the exact spot where your baby or sibling is. And sometimes if it's a grassed over area, it's very difficult to find that spot. Something needs to be put in place here to make it easier for people to find.
We shouldn't have to search. This should be across the country. These records should be accessible to everybody.
Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight, Oldham.
Well, Oldham Council have told us in a statement that as a matter of urgency, we will consider the suggestion to recognise those buried in Royton by providing a suitable memorial. They say their staff are here to support any families who think they may be affected. Annabelle, back to you.
Thanks very much, Suzanne. Now, a judge has ruled that a convicted fraudster cleared of murdering his wife did unlawfully kill her. Donald McPherson was also blocked from inheriting Paula Leeson's multi-million-pound estate. The civil case was brought by Paula's family. A judge in his earlier murder trial ordered the jury to find him not guilty due to insufficient evidence. Well, Miss Leeson's family has described today's judgment as bittersweet. Mairead Smith was in court.
This afternoon at Manchester Civil Justice Centre, Mr Justice Richard Smith has ruled that Paula Leeson was unlawfully killed by Dawn McPherson. He had been cleared of her murder in 2021, but Paula Leeson's family, including her father Willie, her brother Neville and her son Ben, brought civil proceedings against Mr McPherson. Paula Leeson's father, brother and other family members were in court to hear today's ruling. They issued a statement after that ruling was made, too upset to speak to me today. They said that the court has confirmed after 7 years what we always knew, that Donald McPherson killed Paula. After 7 years, a judge has finally seen through Donald McPherson's lies and manipulations, and with the benefit of the new and compelling evidence uncovered during the course of this case, Mr Justice Richard Smith has ruled, to use his own words without hesitation, that Donald McPherson unlawfully killed Paula Leeson on the 6th of June 2017. The family have gone on to say that with the new and what they say compelling evidence secured in the course of the civil proceedings, that this will allow GMP and Crown Prosecution Service to reopen the investigation into Paula Leeson's murder. Donald McPherson was not present at court today. Mairead Smith, BBC North West Tonight in Manchester.
Right, let's get a roundup of some of the day's other news now. And around 750 people could lose their jobs after a food firm announced the potential closure of a factory in Wigan. The Icelandic company Bakkavor said the facility, which prepares ready meals, was unsustainable with low margin business and that it needs significant investment. It says there are plans to offer workers alternative roles where possible. Green Party delegates are in Manchester for their autumn conference after their best ever general election performance in July, in which 4 new MPs were elected. The Greens say they'll press the new government to be braver and bolder and will not support cutbacks expected in the autumn statement. Drivers heading across the Pennines are being reminded that the M62 will be shut this weekend from 9 o'clock tonight between junctions 18 and 20. It's so that an old railway bridge can be demolished and replaced with a new one. The motorway will be closed in both directions between Hayward and Rochdale. Now, new footage of the rioting that broke out across Manchester in July and August has been given to North West Tonight as police try to find the last suspects they believe were involved. 122 people have now been arrested for disorder in areas including Bolton, Newton Heath and the city centre. Katie Barnfield reports.
A flying brick smashes the front window of a bus caught in a violent protest in Newton Heath. With the driver and passengers trapped inside, a man tries to kick in the doors. This new footage has been given to the BBC by Greater Manchester Police as they try and find the final suspects involved in the recent rioting.
It was absolutely abhorrent behaviour. It was awful. So you have officers that have had missiles thrown at them. You've got officers that are having bricks thrown at them. A group of individuals masked up in balaclavas running towards officers wanting to hurt them.
Days later, in Manchester city centre, one man charged at officers with a plank of wood, while a group wearing balaclavas tried to kick down the doors of a vape shop. Greater Manchester Police are still looking for these 18 people over the disorder in July and August. So far, they have arrested 122 people and 60 have been convicted. There have been some criticisms of the police response to these riots. There have been accusations of two-tier policing, for instance, of treating certain groups of protesters differently to other groups of protesters. What would you say to that?
Greater Manchester, quite rightly, should support the democratic right to peacefully protest. Peaceful is the word. The minute that protest steps into criminality, that is where we will take action and we will not allow that to happen on our streets.
Officers say anyone with information on the recent disorder can contact them anonymously as they try to find and arrest every last one of those responsible. Katie Barnfield, BBC North West Tonight in Manchester.
Right, let's move on to sport now, and we're getting close to the end of the regular Super League season. Richard is out at Wigan Warriors for us this evening, and the top two, Richard, go head-to-head tonight.
They do, Annabelle, yeah. It's a lovely sunny evening here in Wigan, isn't it? But as you say, yeah, Wigan Warriors against Hull KR, only points difference separates them at the top of the table with just 3 matches to go as well. Big game, will be a really big crowd as well. Delighted to say I'm joined by Wigan's head coach, Matty Peake. Great to see you, Matty. You look as though you're coming to the boil at the right time, as you often do. Bevan French is back, 3 wins on the bounce. Is that the way you see it?
Hopefully. We know how this season works at certain times in the year. You've got to try and peak, and everyone's aware of that.
A very difficult side. They've won 8 in a row, beat you in the reverse fixture as well. How difficult a game is this?
Yeah, very challenging to be proud of, and the fans back them like nobody else.
Just on the strength of Super League this season, Matty, you go all the way down to Leeds Rhinos for the playoff positions, the battle for the playoffs. That includes Salford Red Devils, Lee Leopards as well, who plays Castleford tonight. Do you think it is a particularly strong league this year?
I do, but I think for a few years now it's been like that, with new names popping up and making a mark, and I think Wakefield will add to it next year, so very exciting, great competition, and like I say, a lot to look forward to at this time of year.
Yeah, you hold all of the major trophies at the minute, the World Club Challenge, Challenge Cup, Super League title as well. What would it mean to you to defend Super League? Oh,
well, it's what we live for, it's what everything we do is talking about, and it's a different test for us now. You're so hungry when you don't have these trophies in the cabinet that it's all you can think about, and now we've got them, we know how hungry teams like Hull KR are, and it's up to us to maintain and increase that level of desperation from our club.
All right, Matty, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Best of luck, Matt. Thanks very much indeed. Let's move on to the Paralympics and Dame Sarah Story, Cheshire's Dame Sarah. She's done it again. She's won another gold medal. She won the cycling road race earlier today at the Paralympic Games in Paris. That's her 19th. She extends her own record of gold medals, now 46. She got the better of her younger opponents to clinch another Paralympic title following a thrilling sprint finish. She's now won 30 Paralympic medals in 9 games. What a record. And she's showing no signs of slowing down, is she? She gets just a little bit older. And a sprinter from Runcorn, Darren Scott, is doing the same in his 50s. Still a young man. He's a world champion, or has been, at the over 35s, 40s, 45s, 50s, and now the over 55s age groups as well. Ian Haslam has been trying to catch up with him.
The face of a man who simply can't stop winning medals. Darren Scott is fast. And that speed has recently seen him win gold in the over 55 category at the World Masters Athletics Championships, completing a hugely impressive medal haul for the season.
Lane 5, Darren Scott wins.
Darren, all this metal around your neck, you are like Mr. T, but an athletic one.
Thank you for that. I'm pleased that I've done the treble, European, World and UK champion. It's just a great feeling when you put all that hard work in, you keep away from injuries, and then you actually deliver at the World Championships in Sweden. 111 countries and over 8,000 athletes competed, so it's a great feeling.
He also won bronze in the 100 metres in Sweden. Not bad going.
Darren and his running partner Mike can both run 100 metres in less than 11.5 seconds. They're not even going full tilt there, but as you can see, they're quick. How does it feel to be so fast at the age of 55? Because not many people are, let's face it.
I think it's brilliant to be fast. I think in any sport, isn't it? Being fast is a great thing to watch, isn't it, when you're fast?
You could be in the over 55s, the over 60s. Where does it all end?
To be honest with you, I think if you keep on enjoying it, there's no end, is there? I mean, you can still compete when you're 100 years old.
Darren's a regular at Heath Gym in Runcorn.
You really put a shift in the gym, don't you?
Yeah, it's having a combination of doing track training and multiple gym training and doing the training that actually suits me.
Yeah, I'm knackered already.
A complaint never made by training chum Mike, himself an over 50s world champion.
It's great to be training with Darren. He's a good ambassador for the sport. We've trained together for about 10 years now. I think every 5 years comes with a new challenge and a new set of records to break, and it's one of the few sports where you can actually look forward to getting old and going into a new age bracket. So yeah, it's good.
For any champion, success is addictive, and for Darren that means a record attempt.
I want to become the fastest 200-metre runner that's existed on the planet as an M55. Age is no barrier. It really isn't. Hard work, talent brings results.
It didn't for this reporter, whose rare attempt at sprinting was proof of no talent and even less hard work. But while not everyone can roll back the years, initially anyway, Darren can and will continue to. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
It might have looked like Darren was just jogging next to a sprinting Ian Haslam, but that was just a television illusion. I bet he dipped for the line as well. No Premier League football or Championship football this weekend, as you will probably know, because of the international break. Coverage of all our Football League sides on your BBC local radio station. Full commentary of this match, Wigan Warriors against Hull KR on BBC Radio Manchester. From here, Annabelle, back to you.
Richard, thank you very much. Now, it is a huge weekend for Preston because around 70,000 music fans are expected to converge on Moore Park for Radio 2 in the park. Across the next 3 days will be some huge acts like Snow Patrol, the Sugar Babes, with Sting headlining tomorrow and Pet Shop Boys on Sunday. Well, Phil Cunliffe is at Moore Park for us this evening, where things are just starting. Who are you looking forward to seeing the most, do you think, Phil?
Well, I'm personally looking forward to seeing Sting, but you join me actually, Annabelle, just as Scott Mills is finishing his DJ set in the distance and Sarah Cox of Bolton is about to take over the decks. Of course, we're right here in the centre of Preston, close to Deepdale, where Sir Tom Finney, the great Sir Tom, used to play as a kid alongside his mates. And of course, this weekend there's going to be some very different kinds of maestros taking centre stage here. From headliners Sting and the Pet Shop Boys to Gabrielle and Snow Patrol. Just 4 of the many List A performers on the bill at this year's Radio 2 in the Park event. With DJ sets tonight and live music tomorrow and Sunday, it's the first time the festival's been spread across 3 days, with around 70,000 people expected.
We've got a little bit of something for everyone, and we really hope that everyone who comes to Preston or listens on BBC Sounds or watches on iPlayer or the Red Button really gets that sense of what we do at Radio 2.
I've been living in Preston all week and I've had the best time, and I've been blown away by the response, actually. Like, I was walking down Fishergate the other week doing a bit of shopping, and the amount of people who came over and were like, see you on the weekend, can't wait for Sting, can't wait for Craig David. Literally blown away by the response.
Well, here, 25 feet from the front of the main stage is a perfect place to be if you're able to manage that on Saturday or on Sunday. But if you're further back amongst the 30,000 plus crowd inside Moore Park, you can always watch the action on the big screens too. Most of the station's top presenters are doing DJ sets or presenting shows from the city this weekend. Jeremy Vine broadcast his lunchtime show from the Black Horse pub on Friegate.
I'm always amazed when I see the list they put together. They've obviously twisted Sting's arm or some other part of his anatomy. I don't know how they've done it, but so Sting and the Sugar Babes. And I sort of have this secret love of Haircut 100. I know it's, but I'm just, that's my era.
Already today, the Irish pop band Bewitched were announced as a surprise act.
Yes, I know, it's so exciting. We've literally been holding our breath all week. Yeah. Been like, can we say something? Can we not? Can we tease it? And now we can actually say we've got a surprise set with Scott Mills here this weekend, so it's very exciting. Yes.
And you've been working hard on your routine?
We have. We've been doing lots of prep, so yep, very excited. Yeah.
Some classics. Are we going to
Absolutely. I mean, we wouldn't be able to leave if we didn't do C'est La Vie, so that is definitely there.
Might there be other surprises too? After last year's crowd surfing in a dinghy by James Blunt, anything, quite frankly, is possible. Well, doors open tomorrow here for the main stage. The first band expected to perform are the Scottish indie pop band Travis, and of course they have a song, Annabelle, Why Does It Always Rain on Me? We're hoping that those words don't prove prophetic and that it stays dry. Certainly no sign of any mud at this stage, which is good news.
Oh, it certainly is, Phil. It's a brilliant lineup, isn't it? And, well, Kay's going to be here with the forecast in just a moment, and she'll be able to tell us whether it's going to rain. I don't think it is. Now, we have been celebrating those who've been making life better for others in our community at the BBC Local Radio Make a Difference Awards. Merseyside held their awards last night, and tonight it is the turn of Radio Manchester. Kay is just outside in Salford Quays, where the ceremony, I believe, is already underway. But they're not letting you in, obviously, Kay.
I'm not glitzy enough, Annabelle. I went over and I peeked and I saw lots of fabulous frocks, but no, not me, I'm not allowed in. There are, like you say, the awards taking place at the Lowry. The sun is just setting on it, and there are 190 guests there this evening, all waiting eagerly to find out the winners of the 8 different award categories. Things like the Bravery Award and the Community Award as well. But I think it's fair to say everyone involved in the awards has had a huge impact on lives here in Greater Manchester. And like you said, last night was Merseyside's awards ceremony, and our Lindsay Prosser was there.
This was a night to celebrate, a night for those who do so much for others to enjoy themselves and be congratulated for their work.
It's lovely to even be nominated.
Dental student Jasminda Kaur won the Volunteer Award for providing access to dental care for homeless people.
One really touching story that I heard was of a homeless patient who actually pulled out his own tooth with pliers just because he couldn't gain access to a dentist. And I think just to be able to say that I stopped that from happening in a small community by helping them get access to a dentist, if I can do that everywhere, then that's the aim.
There were 8 categories, from fundraisers to carers, and from those who've made their communities more environmentally friendly to people who've shown incredible bravery.
They're doing it because they love the community, they love the people, they want to be part of it. But this is saying thank you. This is like a hug for them, saying, well done, you've been brilliant, thank you.
This was the first year that there's been an animal award, and it was won by Hope's Therapy Dogs. The service was set up by Ali Colley. Whilst her daughter Hope was having cancer treatment, she bought her a dog. And before Hope died, she asked her mum to formally train it to become a therapy dog.
There can be sometimes the difference between life and death. There can be the difference between no hope and lots of hope. They can stop and prevent anxiety.
The category was judged by the husband of TV presenter and animal lover, Paul O'Grady.
I learned to love dogs because of Paul. I wasn't brought up with dogs myself.
Those who won awards and those who were nominated came from all walks of life. but all of them have made a difference to others. Lindsay Prosser, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
Huge congratulations to everyone that won last night, and of course good luck to everyone involved in the Radio Manchester's Make a Difference Award tonight at the Lowry. Right, shall we get to the forecast? So this weekend, well, the better day looks to be Saturday. There are 1 or 2 showers about, but it's Sunday where we are going to see showers merging into longer spells of rain. So a change in the weather, but certainly not through this evening. A gorgeous end to the day. The sun is just starting to set. Clear skies for most of us as we head through the evening and overnight tonight as well. Although I think for Pennine areas and for some of the fells, you could well get some low cloud mist and a bit of murk around there. Temperature-wise, 13, 14, maybe even 15 degrees, so uncomfortable for some. And before I came on, I was about to say that the winds have finally died down, but just as we came on, they've pepped up a little bit. But overnight, the winds will ease down. And that leads us to a fine, warm start to the day tomorrow morning. So the best of the sunshine is going to be first thing. I think for the Isle of Man, you're probably going to stay really quite pleasant for the day. But as we go through the day, you're going to start to see more in the way of cloud. And that brings with it the risk of the odd isolated shower. 1 or 2 of those could be sharp. A lot of us will avoid them, stay dry. A little bit cooler, still warm, 22 to 24 degrees. But the real change comes as we head overnight into Sunday. So looking at the pressure chart, you can see the area of low pressure that's been affecting the south starts to finally push further north. And that's going to introduce showers that are going to merge into longer spells of rain. And they could really be quite heavy and possibly with thunder in the mix as well. So waking up Sunday morning, I think for the likes of Greater Manchester, Cheshire, Merseyside, wet to start the day, some heavy downpours, like I said, the rumble of thunder. These start to break up and shift further north, so all parts expect to see some rain around on Sunday, but it brightens up from the south. Temperatures about 20 degrees, so we're starting to get cooler, and Annabelle, that cooling trend goes into next week. By Wednesday, I mean, we're only looking at 13 degrees, and that, Annabelle, is summer and the forecast.
That is such a change. It looks beautiful there, though, at the moment. Thanks very much, Kay. Now, before we go, we just want to show you this. Cunard's flagship Queen Mary II returned to her spiritual home of Liverpool today to celebrate her 400th transatlantic crossing. What a beautiful sight. Thank you very much for watching this evening. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing. Bye-bye.